Have you ever wondered how you can elevate your filmmaking game without breaking the bank? Well, in this video, I think we might have the answer. This is the Feelworld F6 Monitor. Look at this. Now, I've always wondered, are monitors really worth using or buying? This is actually my first ever monitor. I've always used the tiny little screen on the back of my camera. So we're going to find out in today's video. Hey, welcome to the video, and just a quick heads up. We reached out to Feelworld to see if they would send us a monitor for review. Now, this is not a sponsored or paid review. They did send us the product, but we said we would be very honest with our findings, and Feelworld are going to see this review at the same time as you do. So let's jump into the review. So let's start off by taking a look at some of the features of this monitor. Jumping right in, the Feelworld F6 boasts features that are really good for a monitor of this size, especially given its £170 price tag here in the UK. With a 5.5-inch display, could this be the ideal balance between portability and visibility? Now, this is actually a budget monitor. Monitors of this size can normally range between £400 to £900. So what exactly do we get in this monitor? On the side, we have two full-size HDMI ports. Now, this is great if you want to plug it into an external monitor. So let's say you've got a director or a client sitting next to you when you're filming. You can have a longer cable and have this sitting to the side so they can view the footage as you're filming it. So for this price, can you power other monitors? Well, yes, with its 8-volt out, you can actually power other devices, and you can power the monitor itself with USB-C. On the bottom here, we have an SD card slot. Now, this isn't for recording onto the SD card. What this is used for is if you want to load in your own LUTs. So simply drag and drop your own LUTs onto this SD card, and then you can view your LUTs in real time on your footage. So normally if you're filming in something like S-Log3, when you're viewing it on the little monitor on your camera here, this will be grayed out, and it's a little bit hard to judge what the final footage will look like. So you can simply tap on one of these LUTs, and you're going to see exactly what the footage will look like with one of your preferred LUTs. Handy for log footage, handy if you want to try out some more stylistic LUT choices. On the bottom here, we also have a headphone out. This is really handy if your camera doesn't have a headphone out port, and many cameras don't. I think my old A6400 didn't have a headphone out port, so we really had to just kind of record and hope that the audio was good. So if you've got one of those cameras, this is going to output that audio, and now you've got audio out for your camera. The monitor has full touchscreen controls, so it's a little bit easier to adjust. You can quickly tap the side menus to change your LUTs or bring up waveforms, and I'll show you a bit more of that in a minute. And then if we turn the monitor around to the back, you can of course power this with a cable, but if you're outside on a shoot, you can power the monitor with a Sony or Canon battery, which is really, really handy. And we've been using an old Canon battery that we happen to have in the office. Now, the batteries aren't included, so it is something to bear in mind when you're pricing this monitor up. You will need to buy an external battery. Now, of course, external batteries aren't that expensive, especially if you get third-party options, but I would always recommend the first-party ones from Sony and Canon for the best experience. Now, just a heads up on something that we weren't super impressed with, but I think this could easily be changed in maybe a firmware update. Once you've got the battery on the back of the monitor, even if you're not recording and the monitor is now fully off, you'll see in the bottom corner here, the red light is still on, and there doesn't seem to be any way to turn this off. And of course, this is going to draw power from that battery. So always make sure you remove the battery when you're finished recording. But I hope they can maybe turn that off in an update just to help us save the maximum battery power. Okay, now also included in the package, and I think this is worth noting, you also get a little Velcro lens hood, and I think this is super handy to have. With some monitor companies, they kind of make you pay extra for this, and this is just super handy to have. The monitor is bright, but it's not the brightest, so if you are filming outside in direct sunlight, I would definitely recommend putting this on, and then you can just get close to the monitor and make sure that everything is visible. So handy to know, that's just Velcro. It's easy to take on and off, and that's included in the box. Also, you get a micro HDMI cable. Now, this works perfectly for my Sony ZV-E1, but for the Sony A7S III that we're filming on right now, we did need to buy a full-size HDMI to HDMI cable. That cost about £15 and works perfectly with this monitor. So when you take the monitor out of the box, it comes with this nice little sturdy arm, which is pretty good. And all you do is slide this into your hot or cold shoe mount there, just screw that on, and then you've got the monitor on top of your camera. This little piece on the side here adjusts, and you can adjust the angle. And then of course, just simply plug this into your camera's HDMI port, and that works perfectly well. Now, the build quality is very plasticky. It's very light, which I think is kind of a good thing. I haven't got much experience with the super high-end monitors, but this is, to be honest, what I was expecting for about £170. It's not bad by any means, actually, for 170 quid. I think it's pretty good, and me and Lewis have both been enjoying using this over the last couple of weeks. So we've been really hands-on with this monitor over the last couple of weeks. We've actually been using it for a buckle and band video shoot and the videos that we produce here on the channel. So how has it been? Well, I've got to be really honest, it really has won us over for this budget price. The touchscreen works well, allowing things like pinch to zoom, and there's really easy navigation. Swipe gestures adjust volume and brightness, and if touch isn't your thing, there's also a dial for that as well. Double tapping the screen reveals a plethora of display options, from histograms to waveforms, vector scopes, audio peaking, and even false color, something that you don't get on the Sony cameras. It makes this a bit of a powerhouse for making sure you get accuracy when out filming. And to be honest, for our needs, this is everything I think that we would need for our style of shoots. What I like is if you don't want to get into all the advanced features, you can just swipe from the bottom and then get quick access to put on things like your waveforms and stuff like that. I think a lot of people, maybe who are starting out in filmmaking, are really going to use this just as a bigger monitor so they get a better viewing experience. You know, the screen on the back of these cameras are pretty small and they're hard to see in bright light situations. So having this on the camera just means you can see your footage much better. And then if you want those pro level features, this is where it's at. And I think that's one of the good things to mention here with the price. I think if I'd spent maybe £1,000 on a monitor, when your camera is only £1,000 to £2,000, that's a real big extra to add on to your budget. And if you are the type of person that really is only using this to focus a little bit and get a better viewing experience, that's a lot of money to spend. At 170, that's a little bit more manageable. That's cheaper than an additional lens. It makes your kit look much more professional, and it really does make a big difference to your filming experience. As I say, we've been filming the buckle and band shoot, and so we're filming tiny little Apple Watch straps, and we want to see the detail and the branding on those straps. That's hard to see on a tiny little monitor. You don't quite know if the branding is completely in focus. With this monitor, you can have 2 or 3 people looking over Lewis's shoulders when we were filming, and we could all check and see clearly that all of the branding was in focus and exactly how we wanted it. So now let's move on to 3D LUTs. I think that's a feature that a lot of people are quite interested in. So this monitor allows you to install 3D LUTs using the SD card, as I mentioned earlier. Now, we absolutely love this feature because not only do we use a lot of LUTs for our different sequences, but we actually create LUTs at Editor's Keys as well. So this means that we can easily chuck them onto the SD card, set up some controlled scenes, and then see exactly what they look like. I just think being able to see how the footage will look before we even begin the editing process is pretty fantastic. So to install the LUTs, all you need to do is simply drag them onto an SD card. Insert it into the monitor, and then you navigate to the settings to enable the LUTs. This will install all of the LUTs for you, and you can go through them one by one. Now, if you don't have your own LUTs, the monitor also comes with built-in LUTs, including standard S-Log2, S-Log3, and many more. So in a nutshell, what do we think after using this for a couple of weeks? Well, I've got to say we are pretty impressed, especially again for that price. And I have to keep reiterating that because it is a very low priced monitor. I think the fact you get the cables included, the lens hood, just makes it a very, very good purchase. Now, there are a few minor quirks. It's not all perfect. As we mentioned, the build quality is not top tier level. It's very good, very sturdy. I don't think we'll have any problems there. I mean, it's a monitor, so you don't want to drop it. But as we mentioned, this light here is a little issue for us. Also, the Canon battery doesn't seem to last that long on the back here. I don't know if the monitor pulls quite a lot of power, so just something to look at there. Maybe we should try out the bigger Sony batteries to improve that. Some monitors can take 2 batteries, and this can only take the 1, so something to consider there. The monitor, it does say 4K on the box, but we couldn't find the exact stats. I'm not sure if it is fully 4K. I'm sure Feelworld will let me know in the comment section below. It feels more like a 1080p monitor, even though it does ask you if you want to display 4K or 1080p. It's a very clear, it's not the brightest monitor in the world. It gets to about 700 nits, but for us, that's pretty perfect here in the UK. And especially with that lens hood on, we didn't have any problems when we were filming outside. Now, in terms of its usability, we didn't have any problems at all. The touchscreen works really, really well. When we were out trying to use all the waveforms, the 3D LUTs, everything worked perfectly, and it worked fast as well. So we nailed every single shot perfectly. We didn't have any issues where the zebras didn't work or the focusing didn't work. So it all works exactly how you would expect it to. Now, the next benefit I quite like, which is a bit of a weird one. I know some of you are going to laugh, but I like how this makes your setup look much more professional. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of you are using your camera to make you money and you want to come across professional. And I think just adding a monitor onto your camera really takes your camera to another level. Of course, it has practicality in there, which is going to make you shoot more professional and better anyway. But I think when you turn up with one of these on your camera, it looks the business. We were getting a few more looks when we were out filming with this. It kind of looks like, you know, you're maybe from a TV channel or something like that. Certainly if you're doing more professional work, it definitely looks good. And something I haven't mentioned here on the side, there's also a shoe mount here as well. So if you want to attach another microphone or any other accessory, maybe a light, you can do that here on the side as well. So it does have some more practicality to it as well. So all things considered, for the budget of £170, even if you added another couple of £100 on, I think you would struggle to find a better monitor. From all of the research we did on the monitors before we got in contact with Feelworld about this one, it really does seem like a great value buy. And of course, as we mentioned, there are much more expensive monitors, but you are paying the price for that. So that's our thoughts on the Feelworld monitor. We would have no hesitation in recommending this to you. If you want to check this out, check out a link in the description below. If you've got any questions, let me know, because we may do some more videos about monitors and we may see if we can get a top end one and compare them. So if you want to see a video about that kind of thing as well, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because that video will be coming up very soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Feelworld for sending this in, and I'll see you in the next video.